Hi, welcome back to A to B's Books. I'm Ryan, and today we are going to be doing a tier ranking of all my favorite books, of all the books that I read in 2024. Without further ado, because I think it's pretty self-explanatory what I'll be doing, let's get into it. I have all the books, so I read 36 books last year, and I have them all right here, and I'm just going to start putting them. So I've done 5 categories, which is superb, give me 15 more of them.
Spectacular. Give me 14 of them right now.
So that's like the best of the best, near perfect, you're doing great, sweetie, I wanted to love you, wish I didn't waste my time. These aren't in any particular order. They just like uploaded as they were. So we'll just go from the start. So Bunny, I'm going to put it as I wanted to love you. I really didn't like this book. I found it really confusing, really annoying to read, but I don't think it was like completely not worth my time, if that makes sense. Like, I'm happy I read it, even though I wanted it to be superb. Give me 15 more. Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I'm going to also put I Wanted to Love You, but I'm low key kind of wanting to put it in Wish I Didn't Waste My Time. I really didn't like it. It was just like a dull book for me. I don't know. There's something about it. But I'm trying to think, like, Wish I Didn't Waste My Time is basically me thinking, like, I wish I didn't even pick this up. And, like, am I worse off for having read it? I need to think about it. Okay, so next is the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. Yeah, I'm so in between Near Perfect and You're Doing Great, Sweetie. I had so much fun with it. You're Doing Great, Sweetie. It's going to stay there for now. Okay, so Grady Hendrix, the How to Sell a Haunted House. I listened to this one on audio, and I still quote it to this day because there's a character that goes "caca wee wee," and I say that to Freya sometimes when she needs to go out. So, I didn't want to love you, and honestly, like, I'm okay if I never read it. I thought it was stupid. I thought it was far fetched, and just no. Slewfoot, You're Doing Great, Sweetie, but after Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, I wanted to like it more than I did for sure, but it's just kind of was middle of the range for me. Okay, Iron Flame, near perfect. Fourth Wing, I enjoyed more than Iron Flame, which I can put here. Let's just go a little rogue. Fourth Wing is superb. Give me 15 more of them. That one gave me much more of the like immersing myself in a new world, you know, kind of that Hunger Games feeling. Whereas Iron Flame, I felt I got a little lost in the weeds and wasn't as into it. That said, though, it could be just that I set unrealistic expectations for it. So it's not like the book's fault. But yeah, I would say I enjoyed Fourth Wing more than I enjoyed Iron Flame. Okay, so the Marriage Portrait, which was a historical fiction in Italy, I want to say. And it was like about a duchess or some kind of princess type thing set in like the 1500s, I want to say. I was reading at the same time as I was listening to Lady Tan's Circle of Women. And it was interesting because it was about like a 15-year-old girl. Both of these books had a lot of parallels. They were set in roughly the same time period with a character of the same age, women trying to kind of navigate life in the 1500s. And it was completely two different sides of the world, right? One was in Italy or England, I can't remember, or maybe even France. And then the other one was in China. I don't know. It's possible that because Lady Tan's Circle of Women was an audiobook with a really great narrator, I enjoyed it more. But I was enjoying both, and it was just so interesting to kind of get two perspectives from young women from that time period. All to say, sorry, tangent. The Marriage Portrait, You're Doing Great, Sweetie, definitely before Slewfoot. To be honest, Slewfoot needs to come down if this is like they're not on the same range. So yeah, I feel good about that. The Little Book of Huga, near perfect, I would say. It's just hard to. I think it's like kind of hard to rate nonfiction, but in terms of enjoyability, it was a great book, and I enjoyed reading. I loved learning. Ghost and a Watchman. So this I would say is near perfect. I am I will always say like my favorite book is To Kill a Mockingbird, even though I haven't read it in a long time and I don't know if that's still true. But for the longest time, that's always been my favorite book. And this is kind of like a sequel, but also I think it was part partly like her first writing of it, if I remember correctly. Sorry, I have a Freya. Oh, I don't know if you heard her toot. She didn't toot. Doggies don't toot. Sorry, I don't want to embarrass you, girlfriend. Anyway, so it kind of like rewrites your opinion on Atticus Finch. Um, and kind of broke me, and I was like, I hate it. It took me so long to read it, by the way, like possibly like 400 days, only because like I picked it up, put it down, picked it up, put it down. It was like one of the longest times it's taken me to finish a book, and it was my goal to just like get this one done. And it really broke me. Like I was crying for like an hour afterwards, and I didn't like it. I was upset, and I was like devastated. But then once I read reviews and kind of had like the meanings force fed to me, because obviously I didn't pick up on them naturally, I realized how freaking smart this book was, and kind of just how beautiful it is. I put Atticus Finch on like a big pedestal, and this book takes him down. And so that bothered me. I was like, oh, why did she ruin Atticus? Like, it just completely ruined all my whatever. But then I was like, that's kind of life. Like, you can't put people on a pedestal, and they're going to be human, and it's okay to have different opinions and all this stuff. So I just thought it was like really beautiful, and I really ended up liking it. I might even like reread both. But yeah, it actually made me super emotional. For some reason, I'm getting emotional now. I don't know why. Okay, Julia Quinn. I can't read how small these are. And I will eat my emotional support turtle. Ooh, this turtle's seen better days. Okay, so the next is Julia Quinn's The Lost Duke of Wyndham. And this is Two Dukes of Wyndham, book number 1, which I will read book number 2 at some point. So I listened to this one on audiobook, and now I need a refresher because I read 2 Julia Quinns. Yeah. Okay, so this is The Highwayman. You're doing great, sweetie. I mean, they're always good, but better than Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. But is it better than The Marriage Act? No. Okay, so there we go. So it ends with us. I Wanted to Love You. That's like a top tier. I Wanted to Love You. Could be end of You're Doing Great, sweetie. It was an okay book. That was the first Colleen Hoover book I've ever read, and the only one so far that I've read. And I knew that Colleen Hoover kind of has a bad rep, and for like kind of having these toxic male characters. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm witnessing it. But honestly, like the end message of it, with like it ending with them, the 2 women, like her and her daughter, I really loved that. So in the end, I didn't mind the book. So yeah, you know what? I'm good with that. A Heart for Christmas. So this is like low tier, like absolute worst book I've read this year, 1,000,000%. It was a advent calendar romance book, and it was so dumb, and it was translated from French really poorly. They just had like slurs and like words that you just don't say, and just like I don't know, it was a bad book, and then it was translated poorly in my opinion. The Christmas Book Club. You're Doing Great, sweetie. Over here, that was easy. Okay, I Wanted to Love You, middle game. So this is middle game, but here, yeah. I really wanted to like middle of the game. I wanted to get into the series because there's at least 3 books. Sorry, Freya. I'm sorry. I don't have anything. I don't know what you want. I don't know. It just kind of fell flat. The ending kind of like, it was this long, big build up with like a bit of a complicated world where you're kind of confused the whole time, which that's fine. But then, yeah, the payoff at the end was really disappointing. So it kind of had like a really high, or like a great buildup of my enjoyment, and then boom, crashed. Wasn't into it, and like I'm not picking up the second book. A Lady's Guide to Fortune Hunting. So this is one of my Regency romances, which are just awesome. So I would say it's definitely better than The Lost Duke of Wyndham. The Murder Book is a graphic novel, kind of like about why do women in particular really love true crime. So it looks into it, and it was a really fun read. And as someone who's like chronically watching, sorry, my dog really wants to go out. Okay, I'm back. Freya went out. I just did tons of stairs. So the Murder Book, I'm gonna do near perfect. It was a really fun read. It was a really good graphic novel. I felt the only thing is like it gave the answers that we all kind of knew but also didn't, and like had fun stats, but it was very much a lot about the author. So she's like a comedian, and like I don't know if her comedy was totally mine, but I enjoyed reading it, and I finished it in like 2 sittings, I think. The Last Devil to Die, which is book number 4. in the Thursday Murder Club. You're doing great, sweetie. And kind of like over here, just because like it's getting a little. I really love it and I love hanging out with the gang, but like I'm there for the gang and the characters, not so much the mysteries. I find them to be like, I always say it's like a ball of yarn that he's like completely messed up and you're slowly unraveling it. There's always so much going on, and there's no point in pretend in like even trying to figure out who it is because you're never going to know. Oh my God, Freya. So, are you okay? Freya and I are a symphony of delights. Her almost throwing up totally threw me off. The other Miss Bridgerton. Now, I really like this one because this was like not an enemies to lovers, but kind of, but also a forced proximity, which I really like. So tail end of Near Perfect. Heartstopper, Volume 5. Probably here. Same thing, kind of, with like The Last Devil to Die, where it's like the characters are what I'm in it for. And I find it a bit cheesy. I know that I'm not the target audience, so that could be part of why I find it a bit cheesy. But yeah, I'm kind of like, I devoured the first couple volumes, and then this one, I was like, okay. I also really highly anticipated it. The Art Thief. So this is also a nonfiction, but I found it very interesting. So it's going to be a mid tier for me, which is the You're Doing Great, Sweetie. Probably right here. I thought it was interesting. I enjoyed reading it whilst I was reading it, but it was not a book I wanted to pick up. Yeah, it was just a subject matter that I don't know a lot about. It was about like an art thief. Huh. Go figure. But I liked the writing style. It was a book club book, and it wasn't the most popular pick. All right, so The Extraordinaries, really liked it. Thought it was really fun. I would say it's, yeah, tail end of Near Perfect. It was just a really fun book. Really liked the characters. Had some twists, but that you could kind of figure out, so you feel smart, which I like. Lady Tan's Circle of Women, Chef's Kiss, up at the top, superb, give me 15 more of them. It was so interesting. I just had a lot of fun learning about China and kind of like women in the, so it was during the Ming Dynasty, and this book is based off of real women physicians in that time period. And so this was also from the perspective of someone from a very wealthy family in China. So just kind of the rules surrounding like what she could and couldn't do, expectations of her. The foot binding was super interesting to kind of learn about, and their ideas behind it. Yeah, it was just like I was invested in the characters, but also just like learning about a culture that I don't know much about, nor do I know their history. So it really made me want to learn kind of more. All the Dangerous Things. I wanted to like you. It was just like literally unremarkable. So I don't even remember. Velvet Was the Night. Also, I wanted to like you, but I didn't. I'm trying to think. I actually don't care if I had read it. It did me no good. So I'm going to put it in Wish I Didn't Waste My Time. It was one of those books where started off pretty strong. I was enjoying it, and then there wasn't much payoff. So The Christmas Tree Farm, which is in the Dream Harbor trilogy or saga, because there's a fourth one coming out. I ended up liking this more than the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. Say Near Perfect. Definitely there. I liked the male lead in Cinnamon Bun Bookstore more, but I had a lot of fun with Christmas Tree Farm. I was reading it around Christmas time. It was just like great vibes. We Solved Murders, another Richard Osman book. Kind of the same vibe as Last Devil to Die, where I'm not going to waste my time trying to figure out who's doing the killing or what the story is, because he doesn't give you all the pieces until he wants to, and that's at the end. So, and that kind of just bothers me. Like I just want, like, give me a little hint. But I did actually enjoy it more than Last Devil to Die, just because we got to know new characters, new scenes. It was fun. The Sweet Spot was an audiobook romance that I listened to in the summer, and it was really fun. It took me by surprise. I honestly like just had it on my Libby and it became available, so I read it. But where would I put it? Right here. I did enjoy it more than the Christmas Book Club. And it's funny, there was a book that we read later on that I kept getting confused. I think it actually was the Christmas Books Club because it has to do like around a bed and breakfast. And so I kept kind of like thinking, getting them kind of confused. So next is The Secret Diaries of Miss Miranda Cheever, which is a Bevel Stoke #1 Julia Quinn book. Just kind of a bog standard Julia Quinn, in my opinion. I'm trying to think. Like I had to reread the synopsis to remind myself, so like probably here actually. Yeah, I mean Julia Quinn doesn't miss, but she has some like better and worse books. Okay, this summer will be different. So this was a book club book pick, and it's by an author, a Canadian author, so it was kind of fun. Like my friends in Toronto knew some of the streets, and it was set in PEI, which is like just so beautiful. So we had fun reading that. Say probably enjoyed it. Here. Yeah, I feel good about that. Okay, the ABC Murders by Agatha Christie. Agatha. I read this in one day. I had a real bee in my bonnet about wanting to read a book in one day. So I did that and I chose this book to do it. I definitely enjoyed it more than the Richard Osman mystery, so it'd have to go before there. But I definitely enjoyed it more than the Marriage Portrait. I actually would put it here. It was a fun book. I enjoyed it. It was my first ever Agatha Christie. I found that book at a used bookstore and I didn't realize it was part of the Perot. Hercule Perot. Nestle Toll House.
Nestlé Toulouse.
Yeah, anyways, Hercule Poirot, it's like it was book number 13, but I just read it kind of standalone and it worked out great. And I definitely want to check out more in that series and also just more by her. It was a fun read and nice and easy, but also it had the twists and the turns. Okay, so Oryx and Crake. This was an interesting book. So this was recommended to me by Shan, and she knew that I was looking for something in like the dystopian, and this was like one of her favorites from high school. I did enjoy it. I'm just trying to think where do I want to put it? Did I enjoy it more than Christmas Tree Farm? See, they're so different though, right? Like that is a silly goofy time, whereas Oryx and Crake was not a silly goofy time. It was interesting, it was challenging. I kind of want to put it here because I think I'm trying to think. If I rated the book a 4-star, I rated it a 3.75. This isn't based on ratings, but I just want to know that I'm not like completely going away from like my initial thoughts and feelings. I wanted to like it more, for sure. I had that feeling where like it didn't scratch the itch I was looking for, but that's no fault of the book. So yeah, I'm okay with that. So The Other Valley was also a dystopian book when I was trying to see if I could get back into my dystopian era. And I listened to it on audio. It was interesting. It was fun. Well, not fun. It was kind of heavy, but definitely a good book. And I definitely liked it. Okay, I'm starting to think maybe the Marriage Portrait's not in the right spot. Or if it is, it's like, it goes there. You know what? That's what it is. Okay, but then this needs to come down. Or actually, this goes here. Yeah, I'm good with that. Kristen Hanna, The Women. Yeah, superb. Give me 15 more. Kristen Hanna doesn't miss for me. She will destroy me every single time. I love her historical fiction. The Women was great. I might be able to find a picture of what I look like the next morning after reading that book. If I do, you'll see it here. I cried for an hour. I think I cried for like 4 hours straight. It was brutal. Pumpkin Spice Cafe. I Wanted to Love You. Yeah. So it was a rough start for me in the Dream Harbor universe. I didn't like Pumpkin Spice Cafe at all. I thought it was stupid. I thought it was poorly written. The only thing it had going for it was like the vibe and atmosphere that the author created. But then with the later books in the series, I felt like she really got her groove. And it was less about establishing this really quaint town and more about the romance and the characters. Just the romance in the first one felt stupid. The mystery felt stupid. So I think once I had my expectations set on what these books were, I was able to enjoy them more, which is why Cinnamon Bun and Christmas Tree Farm, they just kept like building off of each other and getting better. And then When the World Fell Silent is also a superb give me 15 more. I loved this book. I read it pretty quickly. I got super invested in it, and I just thought it was a beautiful story. So it was set during the Great Explosion in Halifax, and so just like prompted me to learn more about that, and I found that super interesting, and the stories were interesting. So all in all, it was great. I would say the women, they both like destroyed me, to be honest, but the women just hit different. So yeah, you can obviously tell historical fiction is my jam. Um, Interesting to think that Fourth Wing was my best read of 2024, and it wasn't my, because the only actual 5-star read I had last year was When the World Fell Silent. If I could reverse, I would maybe put Lady Tan Circle of Women, because of all these books that I'm looking at that I read, that one is the one I'm gravitating towards the most. So I actually might just do that and say that this is my complete tier rankings of all the books that I read in 2024. I'm happy with it. I'm happy that Heart for Christmas is in the dumps, bottom of the barrel. Don't waste your money, don't waste your time. And if I could recommend one book to you, if you're into historical fiction and want to learn, Lady Tan Circle of Women. It's a beautiful story, just about strong women. Thank you so much for joining me and for tagging along while I tier ranked my books from 2024. If we read any of the same books and you would have ranked them differently, let me know where we kind of veered off. If you can take away anything from this, do not read Advent romances, and definitely check out kind of those top 4 that I had in my superb give me 15 more of these, please. And maybe looking at that, I'll learn that I need to just stick to my roots of historical fiction. See you next time. Goodbye.